My name is Wanda Ware, and I was 18 years old when my parents decided I wasn't worth investing in. That sentence still feels unreal when I say it out loud, even now, because growing up, I didn't think my family hated me. I just thought I didn't shine brightly enough to matter. My older sister Claire did. Claire was 4 years older than me, and from as far back as I can remember, she was the center of everything. Not subtly, not quietly, loudly. If Claire brought home an A, my parents acted like she'd cured cancer. There were celebratory dinners, phone calls to relatives, proud smiles that lingered for days. When I brought home an A, my mom would glance at the paper and say, "That's nice," before asking what we were having for dinner. That was the pattern. Love in our house wasn't unconditional, it was earned. And Claire always earned more. By the time she got accepted into a top business school, my parents were practically glowing. They paid for everything: tuition, rent, furniture, clothes that still had price tags I was afraid to touch. They bragged about her like she was their life's greatest accomplishment. Meanwhile, I learned to be quiet, to need less, to expect nothing. So when I got accepted into a reputable university in the UK to study history, I made the mistake of hoping. I sat at the kitchen table, hands folded tight in my lap, heart pounding as I told them. My father didn't even look up from his coffee. "We can't afford it," he said. That alone would have hurt. But then came the part that shattered something in me. They refused to even co-sign a loan. I wasn't asking them to pay my tuition. I just wanted help, something so I wouldn't start my adult life buried under debt. But they said no, flat out. Their reasoning was simple. They'd already paid for Claire's education. Now it was time to think about themselves. They were planning to start a small business. Apparently that dream mattered more than mine. What burned the most was the hypocrisy. They had never hesitated to spend money on Claire. But when it came to me, suddenly they were cautious, responsible, practical. I felt trapped. Either I gave up my future or I found another way. That's how I ended up calling Aunt Denise. She was my dad's older sister, brilliant, successful, and completely different from my parents. A neurosurgeon, confident but kind, the type of woman who listened when you spoke. I hesitated for days before calling her. My parents had always been weird about Denise. Polite on the surface, resentful underneath. My dad hated how successful she was. Standing next to her made him feel small. But I was desperate. When I finally told her everything, she didn't even pause. "Of course I'll help you," she said. "Why didn't you come to me sooner?" I cried after we hung up. I also begged her to keep it a secret. If my father found out I'd gone behind his back, he'd lose his mind. For a while, things felt okay. My tuition was covered. I started packing. I let myself breathe for the first time in months. Then Claire found out. I still don't know how, but she always had a way of knowing things she shouldn't. The night everything ended, I came home late and immediately knew something was wrong. The house felt hollow, too quiet. Then I saw the boxes. All my things, my clothes, my books, even my bedding, stacked neatly like I'd already been erased. My parents were sitting on the couch, and Claire stood beside them, arms crossed, wearing that same smug smile she always had when she knew she'd won. My dad didn't waste time. He threw a stack of papers at me. "Explain this." They were emails, or at least they looked like emails, messages between me and Aunt Denise, supposedly showing me betraying the family, leaking details about my parents' business in exchange for tuition money. My stomach dropped. They were fake. Claire had gone through my laptop. She'd taken real messages and twisted them, altered them, turned gratitude into betrayal. I tried to explain. I begged them to listen. I swore it wasn't real. They didn't care. They believed her. Of course they did. "You stabbed us in the back," my mother said, her voice cold. "You're not welcome here anymore," my father added. Just like that, I was done. No hesitation, no doubt. I left that house with nothing but a few boxes and the clothes on my back. I didn't even remember how I got to Aunt Denise's place. I just remember standing on her doorstep, shaking, trying not to fall apart. As she pulled me into a hug that night, something finally clicked. I had spent my whole life trying to earn love from people who had already decided I wasn't worth it. And Claire knew that. She always had. Waking up in Aunt Denise's guest room the next morning felt unreal. The ceiling wasn't familiar. The walls didn't carry memories of childhood fights or quiet disappointments. For a few seconds, I forgot everything. Then it all rushed back. The boxes, my parents' faces, Claire's smile. I sat up, my chest tight, wondering how a person could lose their entire family in one night. Denise didn't bombard me with questions. She didn't demand explanations or timelines. She simply placed a mug of tea on the nightstand and said, "You're safe here. Take your time." That alone almost broke me, because no one in my family had ever said anything like that before. Living with her was different, calm. There was no walking on eggshells, no silent competition, no constant reminder that someone else mattered more. Denise treated me like I existed, as if my thoughts, my fears, my future all counted. Over dinners, bits of truth began to surface. She told me my father had always resented her, not openly, not in ways most people could see, but deeply. He hated that she'd gone to medical school, hated that she was respected, hated that people listened when she spoke. "He never forgave me for succeeding," she said quietly one night, "and I think some of that spilled onto you." Suddenly, so much made sense. Why my achievements were minimized, why Claire was elevated, why I was always the afterthought. Weeks passed. And my parents? Silence. No calls, no texts, not even a half-hearted check-in to see if I was alive. At first I was furious, then numb. It felt like my heart shut down just so I could survive. Then, one afternoon, my phone buzzed. It was Claire. "Hope you're doing okay. By the way, don't leave your laptop lying around." That was it. No apology, no guilt, just a smirk disguised as a sentence. My hands shook as I read it. That message wasn't concern, it was a warning, a reminder that she'd won, that she could ruin my life and feel nothing. I didn't reply. I blocked her, and something inside me finally snapped into place. If my parents wanted me gone, fine. If Claire needed me erased to feel powerful, fine. I was done begging. The day I left for the UK, Denise drove me to the airport. She hugged me tight and whispered, "I'm proud of you." No one had ever said that to me before. On that plane, I realized I wasn't just leaving home. I was leaving behind the version of myself that needed their approval. Life in the UK gave me space, freedom, perspective. I studied, I made friends, I breathed. Years passed. I graduated. I landed a high-paying job. I built something on my own. And just when I thought my past was finally behind me, my phone rang. It was my mother, the woman who hadn't spoken to me since the night they threw me out. She said, "We need to talk." And I knew, deep down, this wasn't about missing me. It was about needing me. I stared at my phone long after my mother's name disappeared from the screen. For 2 years, there had been nothing. No birthday messages, no holidays, no "Are you alive?" texts. And now, "We need to talk." I called her back. Not because I missed her, because I wanted to hear what she had to say. "Hello?" I said, keeping my voice flat. There was a pause, the kind where someone is rehearsing in their head. It's your mother," she finally said, like I wouldn't recognize her voice. I stayed silent. "We were hoping we could see you," she continued, "your father and I." "Why?" I asked. Another pause. "Things have been hard," she said softly, "since the pandemic." There it was. I leaned back in my chair, eyes closed. Denise had warned me this day would come. Their little business venture, the one they'd chosen over my future, hadn't survived reality. "And Claire?" I asked. My mother hesitated. That told me everything. "She's been managing things," my mother said carefully. "But it hasn't been easy." I laughed. I couldn't help it. "You want my help," I said, "after everything." "We're your parents," she replied. "We made mistakes, but we need you." Need, not miss. I felt something cold settle in my chest. "You kicked me out," I said quietly. "You believed her lies. You didn't speak to me for years." "We did what we thought was best." "For Claire," I cut in. Her voice hardened. "We're still your family. You owe us." That word snapped something in me. "I don't owe you anything," I said. "Ask Claire. She's your golden child." I hung up. My hands shook, but I felt free. That night I called Denise. She wasn't surprised. "They chose," she said. "Now they're living with it." I thought that was the end. I was wrong. 2 weeks later, someone knocked on my door. When I looked through the peephole, it was Claire, smiling, like nothing had ever happened. For a full 10 seconds, I didn't move. I just stared through the peephole, waiting for my brain to tell me this wasn't real, that I was tired, that I was projecting old fears onto a stranger who happened to look like my sister. But it was Claire. Same perfectly styled hair, same confident posture, same smile that never reached her eyes. I almost didn't open the door. Almost. But Claire had always been relentless. If I didn't answer, she'd keep knocking. She'd make it a scene. She'd tell herself she was the victim. And somehow, I'd still be the villain. So I opened it. "Hey," she said brightly, like we were old friends who'd simply lost touch. "Wow, it's been forever." I didn't step aside. I didn't return the smile. "What do you want, Claire?" Her expression flickered, just for a second, before the sweetness snapped back into place. Can I come in? I just want to talk. No apology, no acknowledgement, just talk. Against my better judgment, I moved aside. I didn't offer her a seat. I didn't offer her water. She walked in anyway, glancing around my apartment like she was evaluating a hotel room. Nice place, she said. Looks like you're doing pretty well. I crossed my arms. Get to the point. She sighed dramatically, as if I was exhausting. Mom told me about your conversation, she said. She's pretty upset. I let out a short laugh. She kicked me out of the house, Claire. What exactly does she have to be upset about? Her smile faded. Look, I'm not here to rehash ancient history, she said, waving a hand. You've always been difficult. You know that. Difficult. The word hit harder than I expected. You fabricated emails, I said slowly. You lied to our parents. You got me kicked out. And you're calling that ancient history? She rolled her eyes. You're being dramatic. That was Claire's favorite move. Minimize, dismiss, rewrite. I came here to make things right, she continued. We should put the past behind us. I stared at her. You want to make things right, I repeated. Yes, she said, nodding. I think it's time we move forward. I waited. Sure enough, the truth slipped out. I need your help, she said finally, her voice dropping. The business isn't doing well. I've been trying to keep it together, but it's harder than it looks. Mom and Dad won't say it, but we're close to losing everything. There it was. Not remorse, not regret. Need. You want money? I said. I want family support, she corrected quickly. You're doing well. I figured you'd want to help. I shook my head. No. She blinked. What? I'm not helping you. Her confidence cracked. Wanda, come on, she said, lowering her voice. We're family. We stopped being family the night you destroyed my life, I replied. Her face went pale. She stood up abruptly. Fine, she snapped. If that's how you want it. That's how it is, I said calmly. She stormed out, slamming the door so hard the walls shook. I stood there, heart racing, but steady. For the first time in my life, Claire didn't have power over me. And she knew it. I thought that would be the end of it. After Claire stormed out of my apartment, I honestly believed the message was finally clear. I'd said no. I'd closed the door. I'd chosen myself. I underestimated my parents' persistence. It was the following Saturday when the knock came. Heavy, insistent. The kind that doesn't ask permission. My stomach tightened before I even reached the door. When I opened it, there they were. My mother stood slightly in front, lips pressed into a thin line, determination written all over her face. My father hovered behind her, shoulders slumped, eyes tired. They looked older, smaller, but not remorseful. What do you want? I asked. My mother forced a smile. Can we come in and talk? I considered shutting the door, but something in me wanted this to end, properly. I stepped aside. They entered like they owned the place, glancing around as if measuring my success. My mother sat on the couch and patted the cushion beside her. I'll stand, I said. Her smile twitched. We know things have been difficult, she began. Difficult? I echoed. You kicked me out of your house based on a lie and didn't speak to me for years. My father cleared his throat. We didn't come here to argue. Then why are you here? Silence. Finally, my father spoke again, voice rough. You're right. I froze. We believed Claire, he continued. We didn't verify anything. We didn't listen to you, and we were wrong. My mother shot him a sharp look, clearly not pleased with the honesty. I exhaled slowly. Thank you for saying that. But, my mother cut in, that doesn't change the fact that we're still your parents, and we need you. There it was again. Need. Not love, not regret, not apology. I don't owe you anything, I said. You stopped being my safety net the night you pushed me out. We raised you, my mother snapped. We sacrificed for you. No, I replied calmly. You sacrificed for Claire. Aunt Denise took care of me. My father stared at the floor. My mother's face hardened. This is selfish, she said. Family doesn't abandon family. I shook my head. Family doesn't destroy their child and then demand loyalty when it's convenient. That was the moment something finally broke. My father stood. She's right, he said quietly. We made our choices. My mother looked stunned, furious, but she said nothing. I opened the door. I hope you figure things out, I said, but I won't be part of it. They left without another word. When the door closed behind them, the apartment felt peaceful. I didn't cry. I didn't shake. I stood there breathing, realizing something important. I had survived their betrayal. I had built a life without them, and I didn't need their approval to be whole. For the first time, I wasn't the forgotten daughter. I was just Wanda Ware, and that was enough.